Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast where we triple your impact per engineer. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, advisor, consultant, coach, and today we're going to be talking about the one problem. So I was on a call with a number of my clients, as many of these podcast episodes seem to begin, and as I sometimes do with people, I ask them to take 5 minutes and let us consider all of the different things that are on your plate. Let's enumerate all the problems that you currently have. What are the things that are weighing down on your mind? And my client, a co-founder, started listing out a bunch of stuff, and there's this problematic employee, there's this late delivery, we have to find a solution for this and that, a bunch of things that are on his mind. But when we finished the exercise, I could clearly see that the problem that he has invested the least amount of time describing was very clearly the one problem that had the potential to become the biggest issue and that also had the potential to provide the most positive impact had he solved it correctly. And in between the lines, as he mentioned everything, he mentioned that, yeah, we have some problem with our head of product. I don't feel like he's taking enough of the initiative. I don't feel like he is being assertive and has enough agency in order to push things forward, and therefore he's not being really a leader. We have to push him in the right direction as the founders. And I'm listening to this, and he mentioned it, by the way, as he was moving on to a bunch of different problems with his employees, etc. And I'm like, come on, man, can't you tell that this specifically is something that, first of all, a company in your situation, every week where your head of product is not pushing you in the right direction is a week that everything's basically being wasted. You're driving for an MVP. How can you allow your head of product to not be on the same page, to not be aligned with what you think is the most important thing to do? How can you allow your head of product to just be someone who basically follows directions as opposed to someone who makes you think about the right way to move forward? And this specifically was something that wasn't easy for him to grasp immediately, that this problem was the one crucial thing, that it was more important than everything else. But we did a quick exercise. I told him, come on, think about it. Each of the problems you just listed, let's assume you do nothing about it for the next 3 months, which is going to be the worst one. And a bunch of those problems would likely be things that would just sort themselves out, are not going to be that tremendous, not going to be that detrimental to the progress of the company. But this one specifically, if he just let it be as is, things would clearly be much worse. And then I asked each of these problems, if you were to invest time in it and actually solve these correctly, make your team get to a position where this thing was no longer an issue, which of these are likely to provide you with the biggest impact in 3 months? And again, this was the one problem that clearly rose out from the gang. This was clearly the thing that we needed to focus on. And therefore, I told him, there's no use trying to think about other things. There's no use trying to focus on different issues. This is the one thing you need to do. And the fact that you just mentioned it, by the way, didn't even consider it, usually means that this is outside of your comfort zone, or this is not something that you really want to do. But it is the one thing that you have to do. And again, we're going for the 80-20 principle. This is the one problem that matters more than all of the rest of your problems combined, maybe. So there's no use thinking about anything else. This is what you need to be doing. And for you, dear listeners, I want you to consider, what is your one problem this quarter? What is your one thing that truly matters more than anything else? Don't succumb to busy work. Don't just do the things that are on your to-do list or the things that people ask you to do. Be proactive. Hold the steering wheel and decide, where should you be headed? Decide what is the one thing that actually matters, that's going to move the needle, that's going to create an organization you're proud of leading. Because life is too short to lead an average team. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, my email is always in the show notes, and I would love to hear if you came up with your own one problem. And as always, check out my newsletter, my books, my community, links to everything in the show notes. Thank you. See you here next week.